Hello, my name is Andy. How are you? Let's talk about the Phrygian language. Phrygian is an extinct Indo European language of West Central Anatolia, classified as a centum language and now generally regarded by specialists as the closest known relative of ancient Greek, possibly sharing a common Greco Phrygian stage, against an older minority view that linked it instead to Armenian. It is a corpus language, known only from inscriptions, ancient glosses, and personal or place names, and falls into two attested stages. Old Phrygian from 8th century BC to the 4th or 3rd century BC, written in an epichoric Paleo Phrygian alphabet, derived from a Phoenician Greek source, and among the earliest alphabetic writing in Anatolia. And New Phrygian from 1st to 3rd century AD, written in the Greek alphabet, separated from the older stage by a long documentary gap and by one transitional Middle Phrygian bilingual. The surviving material, a few hundred short Old Phrygian texts, and about 120 New Phrygian ones, overwhelmingly funerary, votive, and dedicatory, preserves regular sound changes such as a consonant shift, the voice stops devoiced, the aspirates becoming plain-voiced, the merger of the palatovelars, and then the labiovelars with plain-velars, the loss of S before vowels, and a triple-colored reflex of the laryngeals like that of Greek. Because the texts are so formulaic and fragmentary, the lexicon is small and skewed toward tomb, harm, accursed, make, god, mother, and no recorded native name for the language. The name Phrygian itself is a Greek exonym, Phrygios. The language is thought to have died out by roughly the 5th century AD. The historical Phrygians emerged in the early Iron Age, after the collapse of the Hittite Empire around 1200 BC, in the highlands of West Central Anatolia, around the Sangarios or modern Sakarya River, with their capital at Gordion or Gordum. Classical tradition, reported by Herodotus, held that they were originally a Balkan people, the Briges, who migrated from Macedonia, Thrace, into Asia Minor, a migration theory that is widely repeated but archaeologically debated, since some scholars see significant local Anatolian continuity. In Assyrian records of the late 8th century BC, the Phrygian realm appears as Mushki, and its king, Mitauf Mushki, is generally identified with the famous Midas, around whom Greek legend later wove the tales of the Golden Touch, the ass's ears, and the Gordian knot. The kingdom reached its height in the 9th to 8th centuries BC, before being devastated by a Cimmerian invasion around 700 BC, after which Phrygia fell successively under Lydian control in the 6th century. Then Persian rule after Cyrus' conquest of Lydia in 546 BC, then Alexander the Great, who passed through Gordion in 333 BC, the Hellenistic kingdoms, an incursion of Galatian Celts who settled the east in the 3rd century BC, and finally Rome, under whose province the late New Phrygian inscriptions were carved into the 3rd century AD, testifying that the Phrygian identity and language survived more than a millennium after the kingdom's political peak. The Phrygians were the dominant population of central Anatolia in the early 1st millennium BC, conventionally traced, on the strength of Greek tradition and the linguistic kinship with Greek, to a Thraco-Macedonian Balkan stock that entered Anatolia and mixed with or replaced earlier Anatolian peoples, though the precise ethnogenesis remains contested. In Near Eastern sources, they are most plausibly the people the Assyrians called the Mushki. They were organized as a monarchy with a sacral kingship, a Wanax-type ruler, the same inherited title seen in Mycenaean Greek, and offices such as the Lawagetas, or leader of the people, and they buried their elites under great earthen tumuli, the most spectacular being the so-called Midas Mound at Gordion. Their personal names, preserved in inscriptions and in Greek onomastics, are partly Indo-European and partly opaque or Anatolian, reflecting a mixed milieu. To later Greeks and Romans, the Phrygians became something of a cultural type, associated with ecstatic religion, music, and in dismissive stereotype with slaves. And their Phrygian cap, the soft peak cap they wore, became an enduring iconographic marker of the Easterner, and much later of liberty. Phrygian culture is best known for its religion, monumental arts, and craftsmanship. Its central cult was that of the mother goddess, Matar, or Kubileia, or Cybele, worshipped at rock-cut shrines, and later exported westward to become the Greek and Roman Magna Mater, with her associated concert figure, Attis, and an ecstatic ritual of drums, cymbals, and the aulos, or double pipe, that Greeks regarded the quintessentially Phrygian, as were the Phrygian modes in music, and by tradition, the invention of several instruments. The Phrygians left striking rock-cut facades in the highlands. Above all, the Midas monuments at Midas city, or present-day Yazlikaya, and the nearby Ariastis monuments, whose inscriptions are among the most important Old Phrygian texts. And at Gordion, they built large megaron halls decorated with pebble mosaics. Their material culture, illuminated by the rich, undisturbed finds of Tumulus Midas Mound, shows superb inlaid wooden furniture, bronze fibulae or safety pin brooches, cauldrons and vessels, alongside a distinctive geometric painted pottery and fine textiles. Beyond objects, the Phrygians bequeathed a durable cultural legacy to the wider ancient world: the Cybele cult, the Midas and Gordian knot legends, the Phrygian cap, and a reputation as a people of music and devotion, even as their own language slipped into obscurity and was finally lost. In the next part, let's listen to the beautiful sounds of their language. Numbers:
Oinos, tuo, tres, ketores, penke, wek, eptan, octo, enewan, decan, oinos, tuo, tres, ketores, pinke, wek, eptan, octu, enewan, decan.
Vocabulary:
Pie, pi, bas, matar, Kubileia, Artimitos, Dionsin, Bagun, Deos, Deos, Uranion, Anar, Bratere, Braterais, Pateres, Knaikan, Neos, Wekro, Orbun, Welas, Korowan, Koroka, Kena, Wanaktan, Wanaktei, Proitawos, Lawagtae, Kurianion, Orowan, Zera, Zirai, Petes, Nadrotos, Eiroi, Aberet, Adaket, Daket, Edaes, Estaes, Egedu, Egeseti, Eneparkes, Torwetun, Totoseiti, Lakedo, Eitu, Itu, Kakoyoi, Aniwaeti, Oitetu, Enarke, Teotu, Poreti, Kakon, Titetikmenos, Gegeritnenos, Agaritoi, Eukiin, Anankei, Dume, Duman, Gnumanei, Manka, Weban, Weban, Beudos, Onoman, Keneman, Soru, Soroi, Stala, Palameide, Detun, Akrodman, Imenan, Iman, Maimarean, Latomerion, Koro, Koromane, Koltamane, Mros, Makran, Skeledriai, Meros, Imroi, Wetei, Tekmor, Asanan, Mekas, Panta, Glorios, Zemelos, Auro, Elikrine, Zos, Monan, Mrotis, Dumiai, Kranias, Yos, Yos, Semun, Sa, Tos, Tis, Iben, Oewim, Ke, Aimi, me, u, mi, at, ad, as, art, pur, por, en, ipsodan, plade, nun, kan, era, eke, bekos.
Sample text.
Ates arkiawais, akenanogawos, midai lawagtai wanakte daes, baba memawais, proitawos, koyanaweo sikanemane daes, Midas materan tuemes sene parques, as totine daes, bonok akenanogawos, urecontedatoi, yosesait materii, oewi no numandaket, lakedo keyu nautun nautai materii, atanien kurianeon ta negertoi, si beudos, kawarmoyo, edaes, mata arcubelea, ibea duma necteetoi, smanes iungidas manitos, me cosanua etis manin, sintimenan kalia titedatoi, Ios ni art sintimenan kaka, kaakei torwetun zirai, Iosemun knumane kakun addaket, at tie titetikmenos seitu, Iosemon knumane kakun addaket, ay ni mangkay, tos ni me deos ke zemelos, ke tie titetikmenos seitu, Ios ni semon knumani kakon aberetor, zemelos tie titetikmenos seitu, Ios ni semon to knumane kakon, addaket ay natyama, is tie titetikmenos seitu, deton nupsodan ke, knuman kakrodman, edaes pinketas,